All right, so today I have an Enicar. En Enicar? Encar. Well, that's what I have. The case is horrible. The case is really actually beat up, and I do work on it. We're also missing the seconds hand. I can't tell if it's running or not because there's no seconds hand, so I will replace that. Hour and minute hands move pretty easily, smoothly. So yeah, this is it. I think I got this from a friend, so we're gonna try to bring this back to life. Let's check out the movement inside, see how it's doing. Ooh, well, that's pretty. That is not nearly as beat up or damaged as the case would lead you to believe. And yep, that is an Enicar back as well. So let's go over to history real quick. Enicar was founded in Switzerland in 1914 by artiste Racine, with the name simply being Racine spelled backwards. Oh, I did not know that. Uh, oh, hey, it runs. Okay, okay. Well, we can work with this. We can absolutely work with this. Let's go ahead and start the disassembly. So, this is the movement spacer in the case. So, I will gently pop that out so that I can get the rest out. Crown and stem should come out first, so let's do that. This is also my attempt to touch the movement less. So before I clean it, I'm going to touch it like normal. After I clean it, I'm going to try to touch it as little as possible. I've been told that that technique needs some work on my side of the house, so I'm going to go ahead and try that. So yeah, I actually make myself proud, and I'll tell you later what happens with that. But yeah, let's get this dial off. So yeah, Rancine spelled backwards. The brand earned a reputation for durable, well-engineered tool watches, especially from the 1950s to the 1970s, producing both in-house AR series movements and using respected Swiss Ebosch movements like the Adolf Schlid, A Schlid, and Wully. Yeah. Anycare became the best known for its Sherpa models, worn on Himalayan expeditions and built to handle real abuse, which matched the brand's focus on robustness over refinement. Like many mid-tier Swiss makers, Enicar was hit hard by the quartz crisis and went bankrupt in 1987. All right, so we got the balance and the hairspring going like crazy. So let's take the mainspring down so that that will stop and I can take the balance off. Uh, this balance, or I'm sorry, the mainspring does get replaced in this. I do that off camera like normal. If you guys want to see that, just let me know. I will start doing that. Um, but for right now, let's get the balance off. It's in there pretty good, so I had to get a little bit of finesse going. And it looks like it's dead. So the pallet fork, I do that check to make sure there's no charge left, but it's not foolproof, as you'll see in like two. There it is. So there was still a little bit of charge. Not enough to launch the pallet fork, thank God, but enough to make me second guess. So again, yes, I'm touching it before the cleaning because it's going to get cleaned. So I have a little bit more leeway and I'm still wearing gloves. Continuing with the disassembly. The There's wear marks on the mainspring ratchet's wheel underneath it. So I'm going to pay close attention to that to make sure that I get it on correctly and that it's not lopsided. Click spring comes off. Now this model, this caliber actually throws me for a loop because the click spring I usually leave on when I do the cleaning. It's going to get cleaned regardless. But this one, the click spring, the screw goes all the way through the bridge, so it actually holds it on. And a lot of these screws were tightened down really tight. I don't know if that's corrosion setting in or if it was a previous person that had this watch and worked on it last, really cranked down on them. But the training wheels bridge comes off first, but I'm going to try the mainspring bridge and unsuccessfully until I realize that the click spring screw is what's holding it on. So yeah, overall this watch is really pretty. It held up well, much better than the case. Which, speaking of the case, so what I ended up doing with that, and you'll see towards the end of the video, is I sanded it down almost to remove all of the burr. But what I actually did was I sanded it all the way down to remove the nickel. And with the nickel removed, I was able to electroplate it. And that allowed me to restore that case, or at least get it to a more uh, aesthetically pleasing. So it still shows some wear and tear, but now it has a nice fresh coat of nickel. And yeah, it allows it to liven it up a little bit. So yeah, the bridge definitely gives me a headache here. It's clipped on there, or stuck on the um, retaining screw for the um, keyless works. So I'm just double checking here that the escape wheel fits under the center wheel bridge. That's a new one for me. Speaking of keyless works, let's get the clutch and oh, I don't remember what the other one's called. Mm, wheel? I can't remember. I'll look it up. Mainspring rail out, and then yeah, the center wheel bridge will come out. And as you can see, it has a jewel. I will clean that later. My camera actually fritzes out, so we don't get to see me clean that. But I did take it off, cleaned it with some balsa wood, isopropyl alcohol, and then reassembled with a little bit of 9104. Oh, airborne. All right, got that. And the center wheel comes right on out. Let's go to dial side after we make sure, yep, everything's out. Yes, all right, dial side, here we go. So this has some tiny screws. That's awesome. I will continue disassembly here. So we're going to take the minute wheel off. Cannon pinion was already moved. I used my vintage cannon pinion remover. A friend of mine that I met through the NAWCC monthly meetings here in San Diego, he let me buy it off of him for a steal. Absolutely. If you're listening, much appreciated. Because I'm telling you right now, I have been looking for one for a while, and it worked beautifully. I just had to give it a little bit of oil and clean up the wood a little bit. All right, so we got the keyless works out, and we got the yoke out, the yoke spring without throwing it anywhere. Uh, Time for cleaning, but before we clean it, I'm going to put the balance back on so that the balance will get a cleaning cycle as well. And there we go. So I just want to make sure that it falls into the upper and lower jewels, moves freely, and then I'll screw it down. So for the cleaning, I have a machine that I made. Now, yes, it is a one-way cleaner. It doesn't spin, change directions, but it uses these nice handy dandy baskets that I 3D printed. Not this one. This one I didn't 3D print. The other baskets I did. So everything will get tossed in here. The screws, if they're bad, well, I'll toss them in there, but mostly those get a dip in isopropyl alcohol. And there's a 3D printed baskets. So everything gets put in there, all the bits and the bobs and the pieces. While this is spinning, I'll do the mainspring, which you see sitting top left corner of the screen. And I'll also clean the dial with some soapy water, nothing crazy, nothing abrasive. And here we go. There is the cleaner, cleaning away. So it gets a clean, a rinse, and a spin cycle with nothing, so it dries off. Here's everything laid out. As you can see, everything cleaned up well. The case is actually being electroplated right now, so yep, balance is moving free, holding a good spin. So I feel like this will be a strong watch once it's all clean. There's a little bit of patina on the dial, which I actually like. And let's get the assembly going. So a little bit of lubrication, 90-10, which is a really thick paste like. It doesn't move or flow easily, so it stays where it stays put. Got to get the center wheel on first and the center wheel bridge. When I switch cameras over here is where I'll be finishing up cleaning the jewel. So getting it aligned was a remembrance. Always fun, right? Get the very small screws into this bridge. That's another thing that sometimes I have trouble with is remembering which screws go where. So I like to put them in certain compartments on my watch container here. So I know which, dial side gets these screws, back side gets these screws. And yeah, so here's the center wheel uh, jewel, a center wheel balance jewel screw going back in. So I will try not to touch the dial while I screw. It is a very small screw, and I don't want to launch it because these things have a tendency to just fly. There we go. It's in. Locked down. Let's get it. It's a pass-through jewel, so a little bit of 9104. Good to go. Let's get the rest of the training wheels going. There's a seconds pinion, third escape wheel. Oh, escape wheel's got to go in first. I knew that. All right, here we go. Now, this is where I get proud because I actually get the trainer wheels bridge on without using my normal trick and technique of my finger. So what I know used to do was I would hold the movement in my hand with the slightest bit of pressure, and I would feel through my index finger when all the wheels lined up and it clicked into place. But has a high potential of breaking any of the wheels pinions, and I have done it in the past where it did break, but this time I just use a piece of pegwood, line it up as best I can, take a look, line it up, and then with the slightest bit of pressure on the pegwood, it clicks right into place. Now, this is both learning as I go and absolute phenomenal engineering by Enicar, that it just falls into place. So here we go, using a pegwood. Tightening it all down, gotta make sure it all spins freely, and let's test it. Does it? Yes. Escape wheel moves when the other wheels move. Perfect. It's exactly what we want to see. Let's get with the rest of the assembly. So again, I forgot that the click spring goes all the way through, so a little bit of lubrication on the click, and I'll put that back on as the last retaining screw on the main spring bridge. Yeah, and then also got to put the spring in for the click. Again, 3 points of contact, as I like to say it. It's not 3, it's 2. But I like to keep at least tweezers and or the screwdriver on the spring at all times because it will absolutely launch across the room. I actually had to buy a whole buttload of extra screws for when it happens. There's the wear I was talking about. I want to put some lubrication there to ease the wear. Um, Oiling the main spring or the main spring arbor as well. And there we go. Main spring ratchet's in place. Screw it down. Perfect. So yeah, the case came out great. It electroplated fairly easily. Again, the secret is getting it down to brass or as much brass as possible and trying to keep the patina, the scratches, as much as possible. It took me about 2 hours to just sand, and I started with 1,000 grit and I went all the way up to 3,000 grit. So 1,000, 1,200, 1,800, 2,000, so on and so forth. Um, and yeah, that was pretty much it. It's not perfect, but it absolutely looks like a seasoned watch, but doesn't show all the brass. And again, we're trying not to touch the main body, so we're using tweezers a lot more often and the case holder. So resuming dial side, the cannon pinion's got to get into place, but let's get the correct lubrication on there. Oh, nope, we're doing keyless works, and they're fighting me. There we go. So a little lubrication, 90-10 on the keyless works. Oop, hold on, get it on the right. I actually do have a bit of a snafu with the what is that? The yoke. It doesn't line up with the clutch entirely, so it gives me some headaches and problems. I haven't figured out how to put this on without holding it. This is the only time I hold it with my finger is trying to put on the stem retaining the lock for the stem. You have to hold it with your finger in place while you screw it down. I guess you could use some Rodico and hold it, but honestly, putting your finger on one end and screwing it down on the other seems to be the best way. So forgive me, I'm not perfect. I'm still trying to find my best practices and best techniques. I actually put lubrication on the wrong spot there. This is where I realize it, that the yoke doesn't go there. So no, no, yep, it goes there. All right, so let's take it off, clean off the 90-10 because I don't need that there. I need it on the correct post, so we'll put it there. And just a little dab will do, nothing too crazy. The yoke goes into place. Now, when I put the spring on, because you see I tested it, is when it pushes it off kilter and it doesn't line up with the clutch anymore. So again, holding the spring down with some tweezers and pulling it into place. There it is. And you can just barely see it's lifted up just a little bit. I'll catch it and fix it, but it gives me a little bit of a second guess, second thought of what's happening. Maybe I put something on wrong. All right, lubricating the the canted pinion and the minute. I think it's a minute wheel. Chasing the canted pinion because it rolled off on me. There we go. Bam. Canted pinion on. I have a special set of tweezers for that. I use Hortec. They have to be, they're a little bit thicker and allow me to push that on without bending. And I don't want to bend my Berggion tweezers. So I use a Hortec for that. Now we're going to get the this little plate here that holds the minute and the intermediary wheel on for the keyless works. Again, small screws like to go flying, so trying to be as delicate as possible. I don't want to put too much pressure before I start spinning. And I don't tighten it all the way down yet either because I want to be able to align the other, there you go, see, the other screw. So here we go. We are as aligned as possible. And again, I organize my screws dial side. I put the pallet fork bridge screw in a different spot than I put the balance screw. I put dial side in a different spot than I do backside. So that's how I try to remember it and organize things. And I strongly recommend that once you get into your habit and your routine, you stick with it. So don't change how you organize your table and your watch area. Because I'll be honest, I get a lot of ideas from the internet, Facebook groups and whatnot. Amateur Watchmaking is a Facebook group I follow a lot, and a lot of people post their setup there. I actually have a roll top desk I got for $20 from an old tattoo parlor. They were using it for their tattoo work, and it has been a huge asset to this watchmaking journey because now all my tools and everything are within a hand's reach. You should never be further than a hand's reach away if you need it every day. So yeah, all right, we're getting the stem in place. Keyless works being tested. It actually worked pretty well. Minus, here we go. This is where I try to figure out why it's not twisting as well. So I think, okay, well maybe it's lubrication on the stem. No, it's still the yoke. It's not aligned all the way. And tighten the stem down one more time. And here we go. We're gonna test it. It's not clicking. Boom. There it is. Right there. Now look at how smoothly it goes. Pulls in, pulls out, twists, everything moves. Lovely. So it just goes to show, like, as you practice and as you learn this, you can learn simple tips and tricks for catching your own mistakes. I feel like if I were much newer in this hobby, I probably wouldn't have caught that. Would have taken it all apart, put it back together, would have fixed it eventually, but this saved me some time. So now I'm just making sure that everything is still running free while I get the pallet fork ready. So getting this aligned has always been a joy for me. It's not as easy as you would think, but once it's aligned, it clicks in pretty easily. This pallet fork bridge has two posts, which some do, some don't. Omegas have double posts, but this one, it sits in there really tightly. So it's not actually all the way over the pallet fork like it should be. So that's why I don't normally tighten it down all the way. And this is a case where I'm glad I didn't because I could have broken it. And this is where I find out that it's not. I back it off a little bit, move the pallet fork bridge a little bit, and try to get it aligned. Here we go. There we go. Perfect. So you want to put a little bit of charge on the mainspring, and the pallet fork should bounce back and forth. Let's get the balance on. So this has been cleaned. The jewel on top, I have cleaned under a microscope. That spring right there, that shock protection, is one of the easier ones, in my opinion, to get off and work. There are some harder Inca blocks that are just a nightmare, but thankfully these aren't so bad. I have launched a few of those as well. So, all right, let's see if we can get this working here. So again, it's not seating in there correctly. It's more my angle and the way I'm positioned, trying to get a good angle for you all. So just trying to readjust it and get it all aligned. I think I got it here. Yep, there we go. It's starting to go. I want to make sure that the top jewel is set right. Perfect. Look at that, kicking right over. Nice and strong. It stopped because I pressed on the balance harder than it was expecting, but that is a strong, steady balance. I can't ask for better than that. So let's get it all tightened down. Now, normally I will let these things run for about 24 hours after a service before I start regulation. And that allows for everything to kind of work itself through its paces and get comfortable, if you will. But let's get this movement cased. So I want to get the rest of the dial side finished, put the dial on, and the hands. So I did relume these hands. They didn't have illumination on them. So off camera, I also relumed and got that working. It's not a difficult procedure. I actually use nail polish, clear nail polish, as my binding agent. I do have regular loom binding agent, but I just find that the nail polish works, less chemical mess, which is a drop of that and a little bit of the thinner, run it. It gets to the perfect consistency. So let's get the hands on. As you can see, the loom is on there. It was not beforehand. It is now. I like to get these all aligned to 12, press them down with my little hand tool here. This thing's coming together really easily. Knock on wood, it hasn't given me much trouble. I did not relume the dial. Now, the reason being is I don't like manipulating the dial. I like the patina, I like the age of it. Hands I can replace and get, but dials, those are hard to find with patina. And this is the second hand that I found that is a replacement for the missing one. It fits, it looks great, and let's see if it works. All right. Look at that. Strong, powerful seconds hand. Now keep in mind we're, speeding this up a little bit so you guys aren't staring at me taking forever to stuff. Let's check the luminescence. There's a couple of flakes of luminescence still on the dial, so I'll use my little brush here. Clear that off. Let's check it now. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Oh, perfect. A little bit of green. I like it. Reluming the hands about as much as I do with alterations of the dial and the main watch. I'll electroplate the body, but I don't like changing too much. So here we go. Here is the electroplated case. As you can see, it doesn't show brass through anymore. It actually held up pretty well. So let's get it cased up. I will make sure it's still running and align the back to the front because this actually sits in there. So taking the stem off, this is the polish that I used for the nickel just to make sure it looks, a little bit better. Let's clean it up. All right, stick a stem in. Yeah, and we're about done. This pretty much wraps up this Enicar. So if you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you guys. If you like what you saw, subscribe. Give me suggestions for things you'd like to see better, things you'd like to see, questions you may have, or interests, And here we go. That is it. It is a fully working and restored Enicar. Second hand's running strong. I think it looks great. The watch strap I chose is a bracelet style, so it clasps around, so it doesn't open all the way up. Takes me a second to get it on there. That's the color I chose. Yeah, I think it looks great. I think that the brown really accents the nickel coating well. So again, if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, what I can work on, things I can improve, ways to get better. If you have any questions about any of the stuff that I talked about, throw a question in the comment section. I also will talk about the publications and the books that I get my information from. I'm more than happy to share my information because that's what this is, an amateur watchmaker or an amateur watch repair trying to learn and teach as I go. So, yeah, I really appreciate you guys sticking with me for this, and I look forward to the next video. Hope you guys have a good one. Thanks a bunch. Bye.